So that would be Bomb Torizo, Spore Spawn, Crocomire, Botwoon, and Golden Torizo. Not in that order. I'll point them out as we get to them, and we are off. So you will notice we are starting on Zebes. You probably, if you've seen any other Super Metroid runs, such as the one that happened a few hours ago, we start on Series. The reason we're starting on Zebes here is because this is a partial category. Timing doesn't end at escaping the planet. So since we're not beating the game, we're just gonna start us off. Series is dumb anyways. And we just want to get right into the action. Although not much will be different for the first couple minutes. Of course, without Series, you'll see the runners being 2 minutes and 5 seconds ahead, roughly. But other than that, it's the same route as any percent. Just going to be picking up Morph Ball, missiles, and then bombs, fighting Bomb Torizo, and going down to Brinstar. And, so yeah, Toasty is making pretty good time. Didn't lose any significant time in criteria. Even got the sick moonfall that I know everybody loves and is not controversial at all. Interesting that he didn't mock ball there. That's all right. And so one thing you'll notice about Toasty is he's got some interesting room strats that are usually not faster, but they are not usually significantly slower either. You'll see one coming up. I wouldn't really call it a unique room strat, but I would say less popular climb. If I remember correctly, Toasty does the Behemoth climb. I'll point that out if he actually does it. Yeah, so the Behemoth climb, also known as the down grab climb, where you jump across the center platforms of this room. It's like single-digit frames slower than the wall jump strat, but if you're less comfortable with wall jumps, it's a lot easier to do. And Toasty's making pretty good time, I'd say. Of course, it's still early. I shouldn't be talking about his time too much. And so, coming up here, we've got the first mini-boss, the Bomb Torizo. Of course, any run has to fight this. It's technically possible to skip Bomb Torizo, but it's not humanly possible. But it doesn't matter in this category since you have to fight the mini-boss. The fight itself is really easy, though. Of course, if you've seen any other run of Super Metroid, you'll see Toasty's just gonna keep the Bomb Torizo into the corner, shoot 5 shots and then 7 missiles. The reason you want exactly 5 shots is because they do 20 damage and Bomb Torizo has 800 health. Each missile will do 100. But if Bomb Torizo gets below 100 health, he will do the animation where his head falls off, and that wastes about a second. So by using 5 shots and then 7 missiles, you skip this animation and you can just go ahead. Technically, you don't even need to do the 5 shots. You could do 8 missiles if you wanted to, but that's slower. So, of course, another item you see in every run, the first E-Tank in Terminator. I don't know why we call this room Terminator, but, you know, that's not important. So Toasty is going to damage himself through that. I like to missile down those pirates because I like getting guaranteed missile drops from the future enemies. Or rather, not guaranteed, but more likely, since if you get a big health, you'll be back to full. And you're going to want missiles for something that's going to be coming up in about a minute from now that you probably have not seen very often. Well, first, super missiles, because those are important. Yeah, you'll be using those for pretty much every mini-boss, except for, you could argue, Crocomire. More on that when we get there. And also to open this door. Turns out opening doors is a pretty good idea if you want to go places. I mean, it's optional, I suppose. You don't have to go anywhere, but, you know. And here we will see some differences. You'll notice Toasty is not going down to pick up Charge Beam right away. Instead, starting off going up. And yeah, anyone who's played the game vanilla knows where he's about to go. Just needs to farm up a few missiles. Actually gets a super missile before he gets any missiles. Getting kind of trolled by the drops. This is why I like entering or missiling down the pirates, since you're missing less health. Although you don't necessarily need to do as much farm as he did. It worked out. And now for everyone's favorite mini-boss, the Spore Spawn. So to kill Spore Spawn, usually you would need to do 3 super missiles and 1 missile. He has, I believe, 960 health. Super missiles will do 300 to him, and missiles, as mentioned before, do 100. So ideally, you get 2 shots in both times. And there you see the first round getting 2 super missiles in. The second round will be a little bit harder. But yeah, you want to get 2 shots in both rounds for an optimal fight. The second round is pretty tough. We'll see if Toasty can get it. And he does it perfectly. You want to just shoot a missile, immediately switch to supers, and shoot another shot. Gonna wait for the drops, actually. Not super necessary in this run, but it's nice to have, especially since he was a little bit low health. And we'll see if he gets this. Is he gonna get it? Yes, first try. So this is actually the most time-saving Moonfall in the game. I believe it saves close to 5 seconds. Don't quote me on that. And so now he's picking up the vanilla super missiles. Technically, you can 2-round Spore Spawn with just 1 missile pack. But it is very hard. Only 2 or 3 people ever have done it. And I wouldn't recommend doing it. Plus, you need the super missiles later in the run, so we still pick up early supers. And now he is going to be picking up his charge missiles and charge beam. It's both still required items. Charge beam is really only required for 1 specific boss. Actually, I think... Well, no, never mind. I don't skip it. I was thinking of a different category. It's also a nice safety in case you run out of ammo on a couple bosses. Either way, he's going to be heading right down to Kraid, the second mini-boss. Of course, not actually a mini-boss, but with how short the fight is, it might as well be. Of course, memes aside, that's why I like this category so much. There's a lot of unique fights that you really don't see in very many other categories. With Spore Spawn, Crocomire, GT even. It's only fought in a couple categories, and never with the amount of items you have in this run. I do think it's an underrated category. I'm interested if Toasty's gonna pick up Spazer. He is, okay. Of course, shout out to all the Spazer lovers in chat. This beam really isn't worth in most categories, since it gets replaced with Plasma Beam, which is specifically objectively better. But in this category, since you never get to Plasma Beam, it's pretty nice. Still not technically required, but it makes certain parts of the game a lot easier. And such as Suitless Meridia, because if you haven't noticed, Toasty is not going up to Wreck Ship to fight Phantoon. There is another route that goes up to fight Phantoon instead of Kraid, and it has a completely different order of mini-bosses. It's slower, so not many people run it. But in this, Gravity Suit is never going to be picked up. so we will see some shenanigans later on. Meanwhile, Toasty is about on his way to Kraid. Of course, this is just a normal Kraid fight. He has a couple extra supers, actually, since he has 2 super packs. Even has enough to Kojak one there. But hopefully he gets the quick kill. Or I would say hopefully not. I'm always down to see more shenanigans. And nicely executed. No stand-up today. Didn't get any supers. That's interesting. But yeah, gonna get his Varia suit. He needs that, either Varia or Gravity, to go into lower Norfair, since he is not gonna want to pick up enough energy tanks to survive the heat damage. And so now he's going to be going on his way to Norfair. And from there, he will... The first mini-boss he's going to go in Norfair is Crocomire. But first, there's a few key items you need to pick up. Here's a nice little thing Spazer does. Oh, okay, he didn't do it. So what I was going to say is Spazer Beam makes shooting that door open easier. You can... So ideally what you want to do is shoot like as you get to the surface of that little crevice. So it opens the door, and then do a mock ball through the door. But Toasty didn't go for it, even though it's a lot easier with Spazer Beam than with just the pea shooter. Kind of unfortunate, but doesn't save too much time, especially since it's pretty easy to miss. But the first key item he's going to be picking up here is high jump boots. He needs that for Suitless Meridia, and it makes Lava Dive significantly easier. Of course, high jump plus Lava Dive is possible, but you don't really want to do it if you don't have to. And so the second required item you need, also technically not required, but it makes the category a lot easier, is a speed booster, which he will be going to next, right after he, well, crosses over the heck runs to Bubble Mountain. I don't really know what you want to call him if you have a suit. Actually, he's gonna be picking up Ice Beam early. Okay. It's not a bad choice. You need Ice Beam also for Suitless Meridia to freeze the enemies so that you can jump on top of them. Usually you do that on your way back from Norfair, because it doesn't help you at all. But he can pick it. You can pick it up whenever you want if you're more comfortable with it. This will make his beam do more damage to one of the bosses, or mini bosses, I should say. So here's a nice little trick you'll see. The ice escape, where you freeze those enemies to have enough space to run across, to build up enough speed to get that mock ball under the gate. If you just try to run through that, you can't get it, even with Speed Booster. Technically, it's possible without Ice Beam, but it's pretty tough. We're lagging a little bit. That's alright. Nothing too important's going on right now. Just going through the heck run. All the rooms have names, but I definitely don't remember all of them. I know this is Rising Tide, because the lava's rising. Pretty creative name, if I do say so myself. But here is a spot where Ice Beam actually will make it easier. Bubble Mountain. And right there, you see the any percent new route strats, really, where you freeze the enemy and then jump on top of it, making the jump onto Bubble Mountain significantly easier. Of course, it's not required. Plenty of people run old route and don't really have too much trouble with that jump. But, you know, it makes it easier, and it's a little bit faster. And so here we're coming up on the speed booster. Toasty shot an extra missile. I think the first one was a bit too early, but that's just fine. But there are two spots where you want to use speed booster, and one of them is getting your final key item, and another is escaping Lower Norfair. I'll once again point those both out once we get there. But skipping speed actually is about the same speed, since you're required to do a lot of IBJs instead of just jumping up with speed booster, but it takes about a minute to grab the items, so it balances out in the end. I think it's a little bit faster to skip speed, but it's also a lot harder, and you have to execute optimally, which is never fun. Nice second try gate glitch there. Toasty, of course, one of the more consistent runners at getting gate glitches. I'm pretty jealous myself. I've definitely lost a lot of runs to messing up gate glitch. And here we come across our third mini-boss, counting Bomb Torizo, the Crocomire. Fan favorite. And looks like he is just going to use charge shots. Normally what you want to do is open up with a missile and a super. You can usually missile and a super, then he'll back up one, and you shoot another missile and a super, and then he'll back up 8 times. With just charge shots, he'll back up 2 times a shot. So you can get a really nice backup right at the start of the fight, but with charge shots isn't significantly slower, and Toasty's also a bit low on ammo, so it's not a bad choice. And you can see a really nice Crocomire fight. Some pretty optimal shots in there, actually, where Crocomire barely opened his mouth before he got shot. So that saves a few frames each time. And also, he never did a farm cycle, or maybe he did one. I wasn't paying super close attention. Either way, really fast fight. Toasty trying to get the spike suit, it looks like. Not gonna get it, unfortunately. So what spike suit allows you to do is it gives you a permanent spike suit. Well, I guess that's pretty self-explanatory, but what the spike suit is you see the charging effect he has right now. It gives you a permanent that. So whenever you want, you can activate a Shine Spark instantly. So if I remember correctly, I don't personally go for it, but you use it to get out of this little area he's about to go down. And it saves a little bit of time. I don't go for it because I'm bad, and also it takes up a bit of health. But either way, here's the first place that Speed Booster really saves you time. This is probably a pretty memorable part of the game for people that have played this game before. You just jump up that ramp. It's pretty nice. Without Speed Booster, you have to bomb jump up to this room, which loses you a pretty solid chunk of time. Yeah, it's not exactly what you want to be doing, so Speed Booster is going to be faster, at least for that room. And so the grapple beam there, you only technically need grapple beam for Suitless Meridia. You need it to get across Mount Everest. Not technically, but you need it to get across quickly. And also it helps on the next mini-boss, which Toasty will be going down to Lower Norfair to fight in just a second. Just wants to farm up to full supers. And gonna take a safety save. Lava Dive is a pretty dangerous trick coming up. Not super dangerous with high jump, but definitely want a safety save, especially on restream. I don't blame him there. And so we'll see if he does this strat. He does. you want to shine spark across this room. This is part of the reason you want to pick up 3 E-tanks in this, since you have basically the equivalent of 2 E-tanks of energy going into Lava Dive. As I say that, he takes the Nutella refill there, so forget what I just said, I suppose. And also some nice vanilla strats grappling across the room. And here coming up is the Lava Dive. We call it that because you're diving in lava. Pretty self-explanatory. He's just gonna roll in. Technically, the optimal way would be to jump through the door, but since he has Speed Booster, the setup doesn't work very well, so you just want to roll in. It sends you right to the bottom of the area, and you don't lose too much time or health, which is more important. And you see there, just a few wall jumps. It's hard at first, pretty easy once you get used to it, but I still don't blame them for the safety save. And so he's going to be heading down to the Golden Chorizo. So you might be asking, why doesn't he go left here and go activate the statue to get down? And the reason for that is, well, for one, it's just slower, but also the statue actually won't trigger unless you have space jump. Nice first try gate glitch, by the way. I'm jealous. But yeah, so the statue won't actually trigger, so it's literally impossible to go that way. So if that was your hopes and dreams to do that, I have some bad news for you. Or good news, I guess. You could just go fight Dragon if you really wanted to. Toasty is, of course, not going to do that, since he doesn't want to go full suitless. Interesting that he's picking up Screw Attack now. I guess not super interesting. You don't really need it. It's just a small time loss, but it makes this part of this fight a lot safer, since you can't just accidentally take damage right away. But yeah, here is the second to last mini boss. It's the last if you do gravity route, the Golden Chorizo. So Toasty's gonna start off the fight just by unloading a bunch of supers into him. Get him down to about half. Now, technically, the optimal way to fight this guy is what you want to do is shoot all of the eggs the Gold Chorizo is spitting out, and they have a decently high chance to drop supers, so while staying in this little safe position where GT is stuck in a loop of jumping, you use grapple to farm the supers, and you do another 15 or so to kill him. It's faster, but it's very RNG dependent. If you get bad drops, you can lose up to 30 seconds. Whereas here, he's also losing up to 30 seconds just by going for charge shots, but this is also why he picked up Ice to speed up this. I don't remember what the exact damage values are, but I believe it's like 60 with just charge Spazer and 80 with Ice. That's completely wrong, but it's more. That's all I know. And so the second place speed booster helps you out is this right here. You would normally, without speed booster, you'd have to IBJ up that shaft. With speed booster, you can just short charge. It's a lot easier, turns out. So with that, plus getting to grapple, it evens out. Like I said, I think speedless is theoretically a little bit faster, but really only one person has done a run without speed booster, and that's Galamaz, the world record holder, because it's not very fun, as it turns out. And so here's a little strat you wouldn't normally see. Toasty's going to be doing a reverse lava dive, actually, entering through or exiting Lower Norfair through the entrance, since he has no reason to go around since he's not fighting Ridley. So he's just gonna go out this way. Take a little bit of damage there. He needs to be a little bit careful, but with all the health he had, he's fine. I say that now. Alright, yeah, he's third. And so from here, he's going to be heading to his final mini-boss, Botwoon. And like I said, he does not have Gravity Suit, and he's not going to waste time going to get it. So we are going to see some of, personally, my favorite part of the run, Suitless Meridia. And I'll explain some of the technicalities of that once we get there. For now, he wants to farm up a little bit more health and a lot more super missiles. He does not want to use charge shots on Botwoon. Ideally, you get 10 supers in on the first round, but depending on Botwoon's pattern, that can range from really difficult to I'm pretty sure it's impossible. So, gonna want, technically you only need 12, one for the ice door, which I guess he's already opened, one for the door leading to Aqueduct, and 10 for Botwoon, but since he already opened the ice door and already got ice, he's only going to need 11. And not sure if he had some muscle memory there, forgetting he already picked up ice. But either way, he's going to be heading up into Meridia. You'll see the ideal entrance here is he lays a power bomb and then jumps through the door here, all the way from the tube. And that's a good setup. And here's the second, or I guess not the second, here's the main reason you pick up Spazer. Without Spazer, that fish there takes 2 missiles and 5 ice shots, and shooting all of those is a lot tighter than just 5 Spazer shots. So it makes Suitless Meridia a lot easier. Here's the other tight jump right here. He needs to freeze the fish in a certain spot. It looks like he got it. And yeah, there you go. That trick actually becomes easier the more times you miss it, since the fish will slowly oscillate down. But luckily for him, he got it first try. He's having a really clean Suitless Meridia already. Just gonna grapple these crabs. One of the enemies that is vulnerable to grapple beam, which is very helpful in this case. And so now he's just gonna grapple his way across Mount Everest. Going about it a little bit slow. He kind of messed up at the middle there. Yeah, he just wants to swing all the way over to the platform. And there we go. So that's not, like I said, you don't need grapple. You can technically do some really difficult tricks to get up, but it saves so much time that it's worth picking up every time. Like, skipping grapple would lose you like 2 minutes. I haven't done the math, but don't do it. And here, one of the 2 options you have getting up here is using grapple again to do a tricky grapple jump up. He's not going to do it. Instead, opting for the maybe easier, I think it's slightly slower, but yeah, probably easier, snail climb. How that works is the snail will hide when you're facing it, I believe. So when you turn around, the game thinks you're facing the snail, so it'll stop moving. And so when you turn back left, it'll start moving again. And you can use that to get up the shaft really fast without gravity. And how the grapple jump works, if he went for it. So when you're coming out of a grapple swing and you unmorph, it resets your jump. So you can jump again. You can use that to infinitely jump up to the thing. And here, Botwoon time is going to be coming up soon. I missed a super. That's unfortunate. You actually want to be pretty careful here. Botwoon will do a lot of damage. And one thing I didn't explain as it happened, you saw him get into this room by freezing an enemy. That's actually a super easy trick called Metroid clip, or just ice clip. And that's time right there, 29:36. But yeah, how it works is it puts you a couple pixels below the thing. So when you have enough pixels to stand up, and when you stand up, it pushes you through the platform. So you can just jump right through. And so, yeah, GG to Toasty. That's a really good run. Had a really clean suitless Meridia, especially.
Test.
And
1, 2, 3.
Yo, we got Toasty on the restream. Pog Champ. And yeah, that's Miniboss RTA. Really underrated run. I like it a lot. I think more people should run it, but that's just me. And hopefully I did Toasty's run justice there. But I think that's gonna do it for me. And Toasty, of course, more importantly. And so, yeah. Shout out to Toasty. Go ahead and hit him with a follow if you haven't already. And we'll be right back with whatever's next on the schedule. I haven't looked. Sorry.